As we go back, a
Yeah,
question, David. So
sure.
you've substantially increased rate of fire with the recoil system, breech loading. Did
Mhm.
that put more strain on the gun? Did they reach times when it was overheated and they'd have to time out to allow it to recover, or how did all
They
that work?
they did for sure. Guns would overheat all the time, and as Marty was talking about, guns will wear down. So now I'm not sure what terminology they used, in 1914, but we now keep gun record books that measure what we call EFCs, which stands for equivalent full charge. So if you were firing a howitzer and in modern howitzers, which have separate ammunition, and you have a casing with up to 7 charge bags, you can take 2 out or whatever. You calculate that. So a charge 5 would be, a zero point 0.7 of an equivalent full charge or something like that. And as you fire, not only does the explosion kind of wear away the metal, but of course the metal on metal as the round is traveling down the barrel, it literally scrapes the barrels out. And it's a great question because I was going to skip over this accidentally, but we also see now the use of rifled barrels. So whereas in the Napoleonic times, and even leading up to the 1860s, they were smooth barrels where projectiles were pushed down and they were fired. Once, just like a rifle, a handheld rifle, once you impart spin on a artillery projectile, it becomes more stable and you get further range. But that one of the downsides to that is literally as the projectile goes down the barrel, it turns against that and it wears away at the lands and grooves that form the rifling, and the leading edge of the land or of the groove, pardon me, gets worn away more, and you end up with these microscopic little holes all around the gun, not holes, but like gaps, and the gas will actually pass through that. A lot of people don't know, but when in a depending on the caliber of the gun and the charge you're firing, but let's just take your average 105 millimeter howitzer. When the charge is ignited to push the projectile out, there's about 5,000, depending on the caliber and the number of charges, about 5,000 atmospheres worth of pressure that is behind that projectile, which is pushing it down the barrel. So the gas, believe it or not, is actually expanding faster than the bullet is traveling down the barrel. So consequently, if you any of those little gaps means that you do not achieve full obturation. Obturation is a fancy word. It's a scientific word of just meaning you're sealing the gases in behind something. And any of those little cracks or crevices, the gas will actually, because it's moving faster, will actually go through that crack and crevice, and you lose muzzle velocity. You lose the actual push on it. So eventually, the guns will slow down and they'll lose range and they won't be as accurate. So you're absolutely right. It was a long way of saying yes. With heavy intensive firing, eventually barrels will either have to be replaced or relined or something. But you'll get to the point where the gun just can't be trusted, especially if you're firing very close to friendly troops, because it's what we call a probable error in range, kind of the beaten zone that it would fire on increases as it gets we'll call it a little loose. I don't know for sure, but I think that's where the term loose cannons comes from. Perhaps I don't know if that's actually the case.
All right.
But yeah, that's a little science lesson for what obturation means, and the importance of having that full obturation for having not just the best muzzle velocity that you can get out of a gun like this, but also a steady muzzle velocity that results in very predictable ranges. And just an interesting aside that if you ever watch a extreme slow motion video of a bullet emerging from the end of a howitzer, as it comes out of the howitzer and obturation ceases because what we call the driving band actually passes beyond the barrel. It'll actually look momentarily like the bullet is flying backwards because the gas, as I said, is expanding faster than the bullet, so it actually travels around the bullet. It's fascinating to see all this gas is actually going around the bullet and actually imparts a little extra push on it as it travels around the bullet and gives a little extra oomph. So the highest muzzle velocity of a projectile as it leaves a barrel is actually 2 to 3 caliber lengths beyond the muzzle of the actual barrel.
Wow.
So pretty fascinating stuff. Anyway, that's my geek point on that right there. That's 10 months of instructor and gunnery training at the school paying
There you
off,
go.
I guess.
Yeah.